Talking. Hey everybody. Now I'm talking. Let's wait for some folks to get on. Hey, folks popping in. Hey y'all. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. How y'all doing? So, I'm just putting out the word. I'm so late at putting out the word. All right. So, hey. So, I'm wondering if people are picking up. They're actually doing this, but they're not showing me. So I wonder if people are picking up what's really going on, y'all. The title of my thing tonight is Jesus 2.0. And these conservative Christians is really bugging right now. So this is a shout out to the conservative Christians and what they really got going on. But all this time they've been saying that Jesus is woke. Like, pretty much, Jesus was too woke because Jesus, was a giver and dealt with all different types of people. And we all know that they have come to the decision that that is not appropriate for these times. They are rewriting the scriptures. They are rewriting and launching Christianity 2.0 because Christianity 1.0 was too woke, and Christianity, and again, Jesus was too woke. And who sparked off this revolution was their new martyr, was setting it off, was Mr. Charlie. And I'm going to call him Mr. Charlie, right? Because we used to call people back in the days, that's what they used to call him, Mr. Charlie. So I'm going to call him Mr. Charlie. So Mr. Charlie has set off this whole idea of Jesus 2.0. So what they're doing right now is they're scrubbing all of his, what you say, his hate posts. They're scrubbing them from the internet. They are going after anyone that posts them because they want it to disappear. This is what we call like a reputation clean. I don't know if y'all ever have been familiar with this, but they actually, clean reputations online. right? That they do it. So they're threatening people. They're when people repost. I mean, because why would you threaten? Why would you go after people who actually repost his content, right? So they're threatening people, so people will stop reposting. And it's so interesting. I quoted someone on Threads that posted some of his content, and then I looked on my page and that post was gone. So likely that person was probably intimidated or threatened or whatever, so they took it down. So if they can get you to stop reposting it, then they can pretty much clean and wipe all of his old stuff and replace it with AI. So I saw one of the first AI videos with that was just literally nothing he talked about or whatever. It was so softened and the rhetoric was taken off. And by doing this, see, they're not even really worried about you guys. They're worried about their fan base and the base that they can bring in now that they have sympathizers with his death. So they're capitalizing off of this and they're launching this new campaign where he's the martyr of this campaign and where they're hoping to be able to spread their numbers exponentially by just capturing all of the sympathizers. You know what I mean? So, you know, Jesus was too woke. So, no more of the, well, Jesus accepted everybody and Jesus is for everybody and Jesus loves you and you could be saved. No more of that. That this is so ironic. So now we have Saturn, right? Saturn had moved out of Pisces for a little bit into Aries. And now it's retrograded back into Pisces. So you're getting the last little taste or the last little fight of the Piscean age. Even though it's already been out of the Piscean age, Saturn in Pisces was like really taking us through this last journey of heavy Pisces energy, right? We already have Pluto in Aquarius, right? So what you have with Pluto in Aquarius is you have the children of the conservatives whom they need to reign into power. They need to get those kids back because those kids, those young people, particularly the young boys, right? They are not sticking to conservative values. Okay. So some of them are gay, some of them are they like or love people from other cultures, and some of them really are not even Christian anymore. You know what I mean? So they need to reign, they need to deal with those. Like at the moment, those are they, how they say, even in the Bible, they talk about how the sins, come through the children and how this and that, and the what do they say, the end times or whatever, the old shall dream dreams and the youth shall prophecy, like just talking about kids all in all. But they cannot stop the next generation from being so Aquarian. They can't. So there's a little mini war beginning to set off with their own offspring, right? So yeah, so they talk about war with the left and all of these things with the left, but their true problem is not with the left. Their true problem is with their own offspring. You know what I mean? So their offspring have got to see them be hypocritical, you know what I mean, for like all this time. Like they got to see them preach one thing but do another. So these kids are smart. You know what I mean? Like these kids are very smart. I know my kids are super smart, and I know these other kids are smart. And they can't control these kids like they want to be able to control. Hold on one second. Hold on one second, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. Hey, hey. Yeah, Candace. Candace only had a problem when she began to become aware that this whole thing was being run by the blue and white flag. Then she had a problem. You know what I mean? But she's been knee deep in all of this for so long, and she's a very smart woman. So I know that she is not oblivious to these things. You know what I mean? Because right now they're trying not to talk about it. They're trying to make it as though these kids are quote unquote leftist and Democrat and all, and they're a whole different species, honey, a whole different species, you know? So, I think at this moment, what may be going on with her, she might be afraid for the first time in dealing with this because it's getting real out here in the field. It's okay when they play, but it's not play anymore. They're really living out this reality that they're creating because they know with AI and where we are and with Pluto and Aquarius that we can create realities and play out realities, especially with AI. We can create a ton of content, etc., to support our position, and we can bully everybody into complying. So that's where we are. We're in this great holy war. It is a holy war. You know what I mean? Like essentially this so-called war that we have is not a civil war, it's a holy war. It's a religious freedom versus freedom, etc. That's what it is. So, and if you look at it, almost all of the wars have been over religion and holy. So this fits right into the Saturn and Pisces, Pluto and Aquarius theme. It fits right in. So here we are, we're ending out this whole entire rotation of Neptune as well, which rules spirituality, that is now, moving into Aries. So it has completed the whole zodiac, and now it's a reset of Neptunian values and spiritual values, etc. So Neptune has come in, Saturn has come in, and the type of war that we're having is a holy war. That's it. That she is fearful. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure she is very afraid. You know what I mean? And this is going to lead to whatever transformation she got. If I look at her cards, as a matter of fact, let's pull up Candace's cards. Let's pull up Candace's cards. Let me get her birthday. Let's look at Candace real quick. And her birthday is April 29th, 1989. And I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on, y'all. Let's get up here and let's do a live Candace Owens. And let's see what she's really thinking here. So we said April, what did I say? April 29th, 1989. 04, 1989. And let's pull her up. And I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. Let's get her year. I must have the wrong date for her. I do. I put 28 instead of 29. So let's put her in here again. Candace. And 04/29, 1989, right? Yep. So let's get her up. And yep, 5 of clubs. So let's get her shared. Share screen. Okay, so here we go. So this is Candace Owens' yearly spread. So let's see here. Let me fix my window, y'all. It's a yearly spread. I get a little bigger. So essentially, she's displacing the 7 of spades. So 7 of spades can bring a crisis of faith. I actually have it in Saturn this year. 7 of spades deals with faith. It deals in testing you in terms of what you really believe in. Her environment card is the 9 of clubs, and you guys, that's the card of MAGA. MAGA is her environment card. That is also the card of graduation. So she's moving on from something, some line of thought, perhaps some spiritual beliefs or whatever. She's moving, she's having a graduation. And the 9 of clubs is also disappointment. It could deal with disappointment, it could bring about family problems. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a hell of a time for her marriage because she's also displacing the 7 of spades. So this is a lot of, between the 7 of spades and the 9 of clubs, this is a lot of anger. You know what I mean? So this is real. This is like, I'm really pissed off about some things. So whatever anger she has is really, really going to be very true. It's on point. Her Pluto card is the 7 of hearts. That is the card of boundaries. That is also betrayal. 7 of hearts is betrayal. So in the Pluto position, this is something really deep and transformational. So she's experiencing some sort of betrayal, and what it's leading to, which is the reward, is the 3 of clubs. The 3 of clubs is the card of war. The 3 of clubs is the card of confusion. That's also the card of books and writing too. So maybe she'll put out a book this year or something. But the 3 of clubs is the card of war. So this is also the card of the upcoming solar eclipse. So essentially, she's being impacted by the solar eclipse that's coming on the 21st. She may already be impacted. Sorry, y'all. I had to yell at my daughter. So she's being impacted by the 3 of clubs. I'm sorry, by this eclipse that's coming up. So perhaps this eclipse is going to bring out new information. It's going to bring out new actions or something new that is going to impact her and make her feel like closed off. She's going to choose sides. That's what the 7 of hearts can be at times, because it's the card of boundaries, and boundaries can make you, force you to choose sides. You know what I mean? So that 3 of clubs can make you go back and forth, go on this side, then go on this side, because it's a card of confusion. But ultimately, because it's a solar eclipse, this is meant for some type of finality to occur. So that finality is going to occur is that she's going to choose sides, because there's also going to be a lot of negativity. That 3 of clubs and that 7 of spades could also not only bring anger, but bring fear, lots of fear. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of negativity deep, deep, deep beneath the surface going on in her life. Her peak is the 10 of diamonds, right? So this is dealing with money. I know that she said something about Mr. Charlie was going to, they made an offer of money. And maybe she knows that because maybe she was also offered some money. Maybe that's quite a possibility. But there's some money at stake here with the 10 of diamonds. This is also a lot of attention. And the 10 of diamonds could also bring a lot of crazy people. You know what I mean? So if she were to express herself more, use her freedom of speech, this could be a time where she comes up against real threats that bother her. And she always may have been being threatened, but sometimes when you get a certain new set of cards, something that's been happening over and over again will affect you differently. You know what I mean? So you could be getting one year, you could be getting threats, you could be getting this, and it doesn't even bother you. But if you have the right set of cards, then all of a sudden those threats may bother you, may become a problem. She has an ace of diamonds, let's see, in the moon position. The ace of diamonds, pardon, a lot of my friends are ace of diamonds, but the ace of diamonds is the card of Hitler. You know what I mean? So what that means, and then that's the moon position, and there are some women. So there could be some women controllers around her that are trying to rein her in terms of what she's talking about. Some people who are very close to her, like close, like in the home close or mother close or whatever, right? And her transformation card is what is it? The Eight of Spades. Now, let me tell you, the Eight of Spades is the card of January 6th. So Jan 6th, the insurrection took place on the Eight of Spades. So that was an Eight of Spades. So if that gives you an idea of what the Eight of Spades look like, you're talking about a real fight. You know what I mean? So this is her. Let me see. When is her birthday? Her birthday is, oh, so she's still in this year. So that means that there's going to be some fights for Miss Candace, and there's also some people who are going to be bullying her or trying to bully her to get into line. You know what I mean? To get in line. So behind the scenes, we potentially have some very strong figures, strong characters that are reining in their control. Of course, look at what they're doing right now. They're reining in the control on everything and everybody. You know what I mean? So this is a year where she's going to be very vulnerable to oppression, and she gets to really face it in truth. Like she can, the where those oppression is coming from, the racism, all of that, it's going to get to her this year. It's going to get to her. A lot of things are going to get to her. So she has a seven, look, the Seven of Spades in Venus and the Two of Spades. She also has a Jack of Spades in Mars. So a Jack of Spades for her is literally going to be like her not really knowing who she can trust. You know what I mean? Because that's what that Jack of Spades can be. It could be a lack of transparency. So they're not going to be sharing the plans with her and all the plans with her. So she's not going to know who she could trust this year. That's what the Jack of Spades, and she needs to be on guard because there's some people in her circle, particularly men, that she's not going to be able to trust. And with the eight of what is this below? I can't see it here. That's the Six of Diamonds. So with people competing for her influence, so there's going to be males that are going to be competing for her influence. I think like her time with them is up. I think that her time is up. Point blank. And I'm just saying with them, I don't think that she's gonna go down because Five of Clubs don't really go down. They can just constantly kind of keep coming back. But I think that her time and her position and the position that she's held in the past, time's up. We're going for the real. We're going to replace you with a Christian conservative white guy. You know what I mean? Point blank. So got that Three of Hearts in Jupiter. So that Three of Hearts in Jupiter is very interesting. So oftentimes what the Three of Hearts means is that you cannot choose sides. It means you have to choose sides, right? It's also the card of diversity. So usually when it comes in, it breaks up your norm. So it's breaking up your normal circle of people that you deal with, your family at home, whoever you've been dealing with for all this time. It's time for you to break free. It's time for you to step outside of your norm, step outside of your circle and seek other people. You know what I mean? Now, she has that with the Jack of Hearts. So Jack of Hearts represents Christians. It represents church and stuff like that. So maybe she'll be invited into some congregations or whatever that, don't like what's going on. You know what I mean? And maybe they'll invite her in as a mouthpiece. But she's definitely going to. And Three of Hearts, a lot of times, is women, it's groups of women. So you may not see her alone much. She may be getting tired of being in a man's world or being around men and then having to deal with kind of being pushed back. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when the Three of Hearts shows up, It's a very is it's a very women around you kind of energy. Lots of women, especially in Jupiter. But it all, like I said, it also means diversity, and it's in Jupiter. So Jupiter is teaching her a lesson about diversity and why diversity is important and why staying balanced is important. You know what I mean? Not jump into this side or jump into that side. Maybe her place is to stay in the middle or stay balanced. And but the middle is lonely. And you know what I mean? So in the middle could be controversial on both sides. So she has a 10 of spades in Saturn. So this is a disruption. The 10 of spades is the disruptor, y'all. So that means disruptions in your career, disruptions in your public facing. This is also feeling very sensitive. A lot of times the 10 of spades is a very touchy energy. You know what I mean? So this is feeling very sensitive about things, about how people are coming at you or whatever, more so. And the underline is the Queen of Clubs. So when the Queen of Clubs is there, then this is also how people are seeing you. So I always tell y'all the Queen of Clubs, that's like single black woman, single black mother, single mother, etc. Now her with having that 9 of clubs, she'll probably feel more alone, especially with the 7 of hearts. She may feel single. You know what I mean? Things that are going on behind the surface. I don't see a 9 of hearts. So, I don't necessarily see like divorce, so to speak, but at least not now. And this is a divorce year, but I do see lots of problems. You know what I mean? But she has this, and look, she has a King of Diamonds in Uranus and the 8 of Spades. So these are the big money guys who are coming at her. The King of Diamonds is the greedy people, it's the people associated with that country we talk about, it's the bankers, it's all of these people that would be putting pressure on her influence because they know, like right now, that women have a lot of influence and a growing influence now that Pluto is in Aquarius. Um, then she has a 4 of clubs, which is me. And look at me, I done jumped up here. There I go right there. She has a 4 of clubs. So that's talking about spirituality being her piece, like real, true spirituality, creating a spiritual place. So maybe she'll go on a spiritual sabbatical. Maybe she'll take some time off to just get spiritually aligned so that she can deal with the war that's taking place. So somebody said, what is the Black community faced with? We've been staying on code, and all other groups are confused, frustrated because Black people are not giving into the energy. We're being Black people. And unfortunately, we need to not be Black people right now. Staying on code and not doing nothing, that's not it. If you were staying on code and at least building something, that would be more it. You know what I mean? But, there are too many Black people that are dependent on the system. So imagine all of these Black people that are dependent on the system, and the system is being eliminated, is being transformed. What are they going to be left with? What type of dependency are you going to be on because you are depending on the system? I could see you staying on code and you got your own shit. You know what I mean? So I could see, like, if you're the Koreans or you're this or that, or these other people that got countries to go back to, or they have their own shit, they could stay on code. And what you call code, which is just acting like ain't shit happening, or acting like this ain't a war, and this war is not about you. This war is about you. What we are doing is the fear thing because we don't know how to come together. And because we don't know how to come together and work together and build things up, and we know we have a problem doing that, a problem with each other, we are really afraid. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. And sticking your head in the ground is not going to fix it. It's not going to fix it at all. Like I said, I could see if we were actually building something on the low or whatever, but we're not. Some of us are. I am. There's maybe some people out there are, but collectively we're not, and we still refuse to come together. Still. So a lot of us are going to get caught up in this war. A lot of us are going to be casualties of this war. A lot. Just like COVID. People can say there was no casualty. There was absolutely some casualties in COVID. And this here, there could be some casualties here. This time, because we're talking about Pisces and Pisces energy with Saturn, it is 100% about intention and willpower. Willpower comes from Aries, intention comes from Pisces. You know what I mean? So we have the power of willpower and we have the power of intention. You know what I mean? So what is our intention? What is your intention? What intentions are you setting? Because this is still a new cycle. Neptune coming into Aries is going to start a whole new cycle. So that sounds to me like intentions, affirmations, your spiritual goals and focus and all of that. So you could be turned away and not as so-called staying away, but do you have your spiritual goals on point? Are you coming together with your spiritual community? Are you at least building there? No, a lot of people aren't. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people are perfectly fine with Jesus 2.0. And they're not even fighting for Jesus 1.0. If that's their thing. They're not even fighting for that. We could give each other scriptures and all types of stuff and sermons and all that. Well, we're all the black pastors, coming forth with the real words of Jesus, so to speak, and what Jesus believed in and the videos and all of this other stuff in contrast to what they are trying to push now. Nowhere. Not really. We don't even know how to use the internet like they do, putting out tons of content to skew the perception of reality. So there's a lot going on, but this is like the bigger picture. This is the bigger whole thing. This is a rebranding of the KKK, a rebranding of spirituality, a rebranding of Christianity, a rebranding of Jesus. A rebranding of Jesus. So if that's the case, then there was a mole amongst Mr. Charlie's people that plotted his death. So if you want to go with the full Jesus story, which you can with him because he's an Eight of Clubs, and the Eight of Clubs is related to the Jack of Hearts, which is a Jesus card. This is one of the legs. You have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You have the King of Spades, you have the Jack of Hearts, and you have the Eight of Clubs, which is the Father, King of Spades, Jack of Hearts, the Son, and the Eight of Clubs, the Holy Ghost. These three cards are fixed cards in cardology. They don't move. They are fixed. They're the only three fixed cards, and they form that union. They form that union. So you want to talk about Eight of Clubs, you could talk about his card twin or his birthday twin, which was Jesus. I forget this name, George Floyd. So enter in another situation. George Floyd and Mr. Charlie share a birthday. The irony, right? Share a birthday. And they both died by the loss of breath. They both died by injury to their throat chakra, which led to the loss of breath, which is very significant, the loss of breath. Because the breath of life, that's like the biggest thing, right? But the breath of life can inspire and fill one with love, or it could cause war. It could bring about war. Because when you're talking about the breath of life, in Ifa, you're talking about Oya, right? A lot of people look at Oya as the storm. She's the storm, she's the this, and all that, but she's also the breath. She's also the breath, right? And the breath leads to things like talking, speech, all throat chakra related stuff. This is where you express your life is expressed through your sound and your talking and your speech, right? And this breath is connected to the heart, which is weighed at death, which is weighed, it's judged by not just the spirits, not just, it's judged by you. This is why you review your whole entire life walking that death path, because you are also judging whether or not you completed your job, and whether or not, if you're in a particular place, if you are one of the cars as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, then you are supposed to be an inspirational voice to many, a teacher from the heart, inspirational, right? Inspiring people. And yeah, Mr. Charlie inspired people, right? But his entire series of last words were not atonement words like Jesus, on the cross kind of thing. You know what I mean? All of that. Like George Floyd, I put everything, I put all the words that George Floyd said, his last words were all recorded. How he screamed out to his mother, how he talked about his children, how he was like, I'm dying. I'm losing my breath. My breath is being taken away. Right? But George Floyd died in a Jack of Hearts month. He died in a Jack of Hearts month. He died in the month of Jesus H. Christ, Jack of Hearts. Right? And Mr. Charlie died in a King of Diamonds month, which has a Jack of Hearts in Saturn. In Saturn. Right? So his mission was to inspire in love. And he obviously, other people are walking around like, oh, he was this and all that. So I guess that's their inspiration. There's some people who was inspired in love, but his last words were not these atonement words. His last words was not to the mother until, and all of that. So it's a totally different situation. And you know why? Because he was corrupted by money. King of Diamonds. So the King of Diamonds can represent a spiritual person who was corrupted by money. Large amounts of money. This man was a millionaire, was getting even more money, was offered money, more money, was living a pretty good life. Not a humble life, but a King of Diamonds style life. So it's playing out. It's all playing out. And how it's playing out is what the power that they can really do when they're able to oppress people and oppress the word, and then they're able to manufacture lies using artificial intelligence or whatever they're going to use. But few years from now, you probably are not going to be able to see any of the hatred that he spoke. They will convert all of that to different messages. You wait and see. Mark my word, how they give him a whole new energy and identity and uplift him and raise him up to be Jesus 2.0. A Jesus 2.0. There's more that goes, there'll be more of them. But this is what they're going to galvanize people under, so that they can get them, so that they can grow their influence, continue to grow their influence throughout the schools, because that's their main target, is these young people. But what they fail to understand is that these young people cannot be controlled. When you ever can you control your kids? Like, I mean, really control what they think these days? No, you can't. You can't. You can influence, but you can't control these kids and what they think. They'll be having a whole different thing going on than what you're trying to, quote unquote, put into them. We're in a different time. We're in a new time. So, hey, all, everybody. I'm not going to dwell too long on this. I'm just putting a little bit of a seed in your mind and understand that this is now the time to galvanize, to get your own thing, have your own websites and everything, because this is also the beginning of the new social credit system. They lied to you about that too. They told you that it was just going to be China, that China was going to have this social credit system and that everybody was going to be judged by. Marco Rubio just submitted a bill that will potentially take away your passport for the things that you say. So it's interesting. We're talking about freedom of speech, but what we're really talking about is throat chakra, because the throat chakra is so powerful, especially in Black people. That is one of the most powerful things you have as a person of color is your throat chakra. That is almost like your seat of power. Almost like your seat of power. You are going back to in slavery when things had to be put in code and they couldn't say things directly. So what did the slaves started doing? They started singing songs. They started assigning words for different things and doing what we do in hip hop, or when we get really creative in music and hip hop, doing what we already do. You're going back, you're getting taken back to that time. Expression in code. Because it would be dangerous for you to talk directly against massa. So I'm gonna end it with that, y'all. Y'all have a good night. I put the link to my reports. You can go to that link. You can buy a life report now directly there. You can buy a wealth report and all of these other things directly at that link. It's in the description. I have my Cash App and Venmo and all those things if you just want to give a gift for all the work that I do and I'm bringing to the people. I'm graciously appreciative. So good night, all.